So with all humble approach, as I see before me my understanding, how I conclude to these things, I mean, God must be seen as God. We can't look at him from any other angle. And you can look at me from any other angle, like a human being. That's what you see me to be, and that is what I am. If you look at me of any other angle, it's either you offended me or you have to prove, why I'm different in your eyes or what you see different that others don't. At the end of the day, the same way God is proven. Even in the book, so many times, God gives that privilege for others to sort of prove his existence. If you read the book of Exodus 1 or Exodus 24, we could get there. When the Jehovah comes there to meet his people, when he called Moses, he first announced himself for any challenges that is before him. Like if there is any other spirit that challenge him of who he claimed he is, should come forth. Like David, Goliath coming forth and said, I am Goliath, I am that and that. If you feel that I'm not what I say I am and you can challenge me, come forth. Because to claim Godship is not an easy thing. So if anybody claim Godship, he declares himself that. And that's the same manner. If you read in Matthew 24, when Moses had to go to Mount Sinai to accept the 10 Commandments, that is what the Bible is saying here. Sometimes to use the Bible because that's how it's all coming out for us to see. And then Moses said and then the Lord said to Moses, come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone and the law and the commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. So Moses rose and went to the temple, to the mountain, with the tablets, with the what do you call it? To go and collect the tablets that God has written on. He says, I will give you a tablets of stone and the law and commandment which I have written, that you may teach them. Going to give him the 10 Commandments that he has written. God has written it. He had written the translation. Not that before Moses is going there, he's telling Moses is aware that they has written the thing already. He's going to collect it. And then Moses rose in the morning and went there. And the elders are to wait down there. Nobody is to come close to the place, nor to feed their cattle there. So Moses had to go up there, and the cloud, the cloud covered the whole mountain. That cloud was covering the whole mountain in verse 15 coming up. Now in 16 he says, now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. 17, the sight of the glory of the Lord was like as consuming fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So Moses went up into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. He went to the clouds, and the presence of God was shown to him. He says he write the tablet. That's why when it comes to the tablets or the laws, this one God wrote it. That is what it says. The evidence is proof that is showing, the writing is showing that God wrote it. Maybe another text will also make it look different, that God spoke and then Moses wrote it. But whichever way it is the Bible is saying that God is claiming he wrote that law that Moses gave. He wrote it for Moses to bring. If we go to 34, verse 1, in the same Exodus. And the Lord said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first one. That is where he went and angrily destroyed the first one when he went to saw the people disobeying God. And I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you wrote. I will rewrite it for you. So be ready in the morning and come up the morning to Mount Sinai and present yourself to me there on the top of the mountain. And no man shall come with you, and let no man see throughout all the mountains. Let neither flocks nor herd feed for that mountain. They shouldn't feed on that mountain. So he cut 2 tablets, stone, like the first one. Then Moses rose early in the morning and went up Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, and he took in his hands 2 tablets of stone. Now the Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. You see, God here, the Moses God here, coming to the mountain, proclaiming the name of the Lord there to show who he is. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed. God passed before Moses and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and the 4th generation. So Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. Then he said, if now I have found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray, go among us, even though we are stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. And he said, behold, I make a covenant before you and all the people. Now, at the end of the day, what I was pulling out here is God declares himself. Why would God declare himself? Because he wants Moses to know that it is him who has come there. The person who told you to come here, I'm the one who has come here, not anybody different. And if there is another God and I have passed behind that God and I have come here, I have spoken out loud, let the other God, crush me or, any challenge above me to speak. There wasn't any challenge. Moses then bowed down and worshipped, because the presence of what he was before was great, was quite beyond him. That is what I'm believing or I'm thinking, according to the writing, And so it is clear here that he wrote certain things for Moses. I know somewhere if you read 35, even 34 verse 28, he says, so he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He neither ate bread and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. He wrote on the tablets. And earlier on 27, he asked him that, okay, then the Lord said to Moses, write these words, for according to the tenor of these words, I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. God was now telling from 34, 27, that is Exodus 34, 27, he says, write onto these tablets, the second tablet that he brought, write onto it what I tell you, and go and teach the people. But before this one, in 24 and in 34 verse 1, he was saying to Moses, or the writer is presenting it to us to believe that God has written it. And in another stage, he says, God says, come and I will write and give you the law. So it's expected that if I was told this, I'm expecting that he wrote on it. Now, this is the thing. But whichever way it is, these are some of the not straightforward tests that sometimes it makes you confused, because it's not straightforward. But whichever way it is, these are the only commandments that we see as coming from God. There is another test, apart from we moving from the side where God had to proclaim himself as the side that if I am who I said I am, if I say I am Joshua, I am David, I'm Nana, or I'm that, I need to proclaim myself to be what I say I am. And if there is no other